We are grateful for this day. It's another day when we are having a webinar. Today we are dealing with replacement of title issued from a closed register. My name is Mashua Kahosio from the registration department, together with our system trainers. I will be taking you through the process. Karibuni sana. We hope that we are going to have a very engaging session. Kindly, as we did in the previous meeting, if you have a question, you can post it on WhatsApp. And then maybe at the end, we can have a session where we can allow you to ask questions by lifting your hand. Conversion, or what we call replacement of title issued from a closed register, is anchored in law after the Land Registration Act of 2012 repealed the other registration regimes that we used to have, commonly RTA, GLA, and so on and so forth. So it's a very simple process, but I know there are so many questions surrounding it. Article 68 of our Constitution required Parliament to enact laws that would revise, consolidate, and rationalize the existing laws. And Parliament in 2012 enacted 3 laws: the Land Registration Act of 2012, the Land Act 2012, and the National Land Commission Act. The Community Land Act was also enacted in 2016. So the Land Registration Act repealed the Land Titles Act, the Indian Transfer of Property Act, the Government Land Act, Registered Land Act, Cap 300, which now collapsed all those laws and repealed those laws to allow us to have a uniform registration regime, which is the Land Registration Act. We have always said that Ardhisasa complies with the Land Registration Act, and that is why you'll find that we are able to do conversion on the system. So without much or further ado, I want to invite our trainer to take us through the process. Karibuni sana, and thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As Mr. Kaush has stated, I'll be taking you through the application of replacement of title issued from a closed register through the Ardhisasa system. My name is Timothy Nambai. So I hope everyone can see the shared screen. And for you to initiate this process, you must have the advocate status on the system. And once you log in, that is the dashboard that you will be presented for the transaction. So the process of replacement of title is under the Land Registration Department. As you can see, under the Land Registration Department, we have 3 services presented. These are the commonly sought after services. But when you click on View More, you will be able to see all the services offered under the department. So one of the services offered is the replacement of title issued from a closed register. And this is the process that we will be looking at. But for you to initiate this process, you must switch your account to the advocate account. So as you can see, I'm under the private account. So I need to click on the profile icon and change to the advocate account. Then proceed to the Land Registration Department and to the replacement of title issued from a closed register. So once you open that application or that service, that is the interface that you will get. And I'll just wish to explain those tabs you can see on your screen, pending on going all the way to cancelled. The purpose of those tabs is to hold application depending on the level of processing of that application. So basically, pending will hold applications that you have initiated as an advocate, but there are some action pending from your side. Maybe the execution by the parties involved in this application, surrendering of the title and such task which you are required to do. Once you complete all that is required from you and you submit that application to the ministry for processing, then it will go to ongoing tab. Once the ministry has gone through your application and registered the replacement of title, then it will move to completed. In case they reject that application, then it will move to the rejected. And in case you cancel an application from the public side or from the advocate side or the applicant side, then it will go under the cancelled tab. Now, for you to initiate the application, you will click on new application button. And the first thing that you will encounter is the FAQs for that process, specifically for replacement of title issued from a closed register. Additionally, you'll have a link. As you can see, we have a link on that blue link. That is the YouTube link for the tutorial that we have made for this process. So it is a step-by-step tutorial that will guide you through the application of that process. So once you go through the FAQs, you will go to the next step, and now you start the application process. Just to point out before I continue, whatever we are doing actually here, if you compare it to the manual space, we are actually filling the LRA 97 form. So you might not be required at the end of it to fill the manual document, because at the end of this process, the system will generate the LRA 97 form, which will be registered by the registrar and issued to you. So you will not be required to do the manual filling of the form and presenting the form to the ministry. But we find some people doing it, which we don't discourage, but it's not a requirement. So from here, what you are required, the first thing that, or the first piece of information that you will be asked for is the old parcel number. So basically it's the LR number or the IR number or the Dagoretti number for the Dagoretti parcels. So with me, I have a parcel, which is LR 9104 stroke 134. And it was converted to Nairobi block 196 stroke 178. And please take note of the format for the new parcel number. So it should be Nairobi /block, followed by the block number without spaces or special characters in between, then stroke the parcel number in that format. Then the next piece of information that you will be required to provide is the ownership type of the proprietors. Is this parcel owned by one entity? Is it joint ownership or is it proprietorship in common? If it is joint ownership, you'll have to provide more than one proprietor. If it is proprietorship in common, then you'll have to provide all the proprietors, and you'll be asked again for the share of the proprietors. So I'll just demonstrate the proprietorship in common, and so that we see what happens when you are dealing with the proprietorship in common. So if I pick an Ardhisasa ID, because in the system, you will not be required to transact using the national ID. You'll always be required to transact using the Ardhisasa ID. And I believe in the previous engagements, we have shown where to obtain the Ardhisasa ID. But in case of anything you can't find, always feel free to contact the customer care. So if you type or paste the Ardhisasa ID of the proprietor in the proprietorship in common, and you have selected, you will be asked the share type registered, is it in fraction or is it in percentages? So for example, if I select percent and select to search that person, I'll be asked, the first thing I'll be asked is to enter the share in favor of that proprietor, and it will give you the name of the proprietor. Then it will ask you the ownership rights of that proprietor. Is this person holding this parcel as the proprietor, as a trustee, as an administrator, as a liquidator, or the rights that person has on that property? So that is how you'll handle the proprietorship in common. And the percentages that you provide for the proprietors that you will provide must add up to 100%. So that is how you handle the proprietors in common. For joint proprietorship, you will provide the proprietors as listed in the title that you have. For sole proprietorship, you'll only be required to provide one proprietor. So I'll proceed with the sole proprietorship for now, and I'll click on search. It will ask me the ownership rights of that person, and I'll go with the proprietor and proceed and add. Upon doing that, it will ask me to select the person who will execute on behalf of that proprietor. Is this proprietor executing for him or herself, or are they using a power of attorney? If they're using a power of attorney, then you will be required to provide the power of attorney entry number. These are the power of attorney numbers that was registered in the manual space, and also those that have been registered digitally. So this is just to inform you that you can register power of attorneys through the Ardhisasa system. The format that we have on the system might slightly differ from what you used to use in the manual space. We have only introduced one bit, which will be representing the registry under which this POA was registered. So for our example, in the case of Nairobi, it will start with Nairobi. Then the rest will follow the format that used to happen in the manual space. So Nairobi, then / the entry number, / the month it was registered, then / the year it was registered. That is the format that we will use. After that, you proceed and click on search, and it will give you the name of that registered attorney. Then you'll proceed and click on save. You check that checkbox and proceed and click on save. And this is the person that will get the rights to execute on this application. If the proprietor will be the one executing for him or herself, then they will go with the self, and you click save, and that is what you will get. I'll request that we mute our mics kindly. So that is the process of selecting the proprietor. Then you can see we have the proprietor as Donata, and the person to execute will still be Donata. The other piece that the system will ask is the pickup person. The pickup person basically is the person who will come and collect the title. Remember that we'll be giving out a new title at the end of this process, a Nairobi block title. So you will be asked to give the Ardhisasa ID of the person who will come and collect the title. So basically, that person must be registered on the system. And once you enter the Ardhisasa ID, it will give you the details. So in my case, I have selected that the person to pick the title will be the proprietor, but it is open for you to select whoever you wish to come and collect the title. Then the next bit is the law firm details. You will be required to provide the law firm details of the law firm drawing this document. So we have two ways of linking or filling the details of the law firm. We have law firms which have registered on the system, and we have law firms which have not registered on the system. And if you wish to tie this application to a registered law firm, then you will go with the option of, do you want to tie this application to a registered law firm on Ardhisasa? And if your law firm is not registered, then you will go and fill these text boxes that we have. For my case, I'll tie the application to a registered law firm. And when I search, the system will pull for me the details of the law firm. And you will key in the missing fields if you have any in your case. And maybe at this point, I'll encourage that you have your law firms registered on the system. Then the next, you will proceed to the next bit, and you provide the documents that are required. So one of the requirements or one of the documents that will be required to provide is the copy of the title. So be it a GLA title, be it an RTA title or a decorative title, you will provide a copy of the title. So you'll select certificate of title or whatever, depending on the parcel that you are dealing with. If you wish to provide additional documents to support your application, for example, if this was a company, then you might upload a CR12 for your company and choose the file. So I'll just use a CR12 for this case, even though I'd put the proprietor to be an individual, but for the purpose of demonstration, I'll just use a CR12. Then you proceed to the next page, which is the confirmation page, just to confirm the details that you have provided. From here, you will proceed and submit your application. And upon submitting your application, if everything was okay, you have given the parcel number correctly, you have provided your proprietors correctly, you will get that message, application created successfully. Now, at this point, what the system offers is it creates the application in the system, and it enables all the parties involved in this application to have a view of the application so that they can come in and do the execution. And for applications that might require additional processing, if I was to go a bit out of this, maybe application that require payment of duty, then it will open the application for payment of duty and that. But in this application, there is no payment of stamp duty. So the only thing that we need to do at this point is execution by parties and surrendering of the title so that the application can proceed to the next stage. So this is the application that we have initiated, the first application, which we initiated roughly 3 minutes ago. And when we proceed and view the application, this is the view that we get. So the first thing that we will see is the reference number of that application, which is a very important feature, because this is what you will use to track your application in case you need to follow up, you need to talk to customer care, or you need to talk to a staff regarding your application. You'll use the reference number. We'll have the application details. Basically, this is the information that we provided. If we go, just allow me skip that signing bit. This is the information that we provided, the all parcel number, the applicant. This is the applicant being the advocate. We have the proprietor, we have the picker person and the law firm details. When we scroll back up, when we go to document section, we can see the documents that we provided. Since we don't have payment of stamp duty for this application, we will not have anything under the invoices tab. So when I go back to application details, I'll be required as the advocate who initiated this application to accept representation of the parties that I have in the application. For this case, we only have one applicant or one party being represented. But in the scenario of joint ownership or proprietorship in common, we will have a number of parties being represented. And as the advocate who initiated this application, you might not be representing all the parties. That is why we have this feature of accept. Because if I have, for example, 3 parties, and I'm representing 1 or 2, that means I'll have to reject representation of one of them so that they can get a chance on their account to select an advocate who will be representing them on that application. So that is what will happen in a scenario where you have more than one party in that application. for this case, I'll just proceed and accept to represent this person. You will get that message as you can see on your screen. Are you sure you want to represent this person? Then you proceed and accept. The next thing that will be required is the execution bit, basically the signing part. Now on the system, we have two ways of signing. We have provided the signing area on the screen. As you can see, the part I'm moving my mouse or I'm hovering my mouse over, that is the signing bit whereby you will sign using your mouse. It might not be comfortable for everyone to sign using a mouse. So we went ahead and provided an additional way of signing, which you can sign using another device. As you can see, we have a link below that signing area, which reads sign with another device. When you click sign with another device, it will give you 4 options. Basically, all these options will give you a link which you will use to sign on another device, be it a smartphone or a tablet or any other device that has a signing capability. So for example, you have the QR code, which you can scan. You can send a link to your email or a link to a phone number, or you can copy a link, paste it somewhere, then use it on another device. So if you click use the QR code, it will give you a QR code. When you scan this QR code, I might not be able to demonstrate that bit because it will not be possible for me to share the screen of my phone. But basically, I'll explain what will happen. When you scan the QR code, it will give you a link. When you tap on that link, it will open for you in your browser a signing area similar to the one we have on the screen. You sign on that signing area on your, let me say, your smartphone, and save the signature on your smartphone. Then you come back to your browser, your computer browser, and click on confirm signing. It will upload that signature from your phone and append it on that application. So that is what will happen. So maybe I'll just quickly demonstrate, sign on my phone, then you can see what will happen. So just give me a moment, then I'll be able to proceed. So as I proceed, maybe the questions under the chat section will be answered by my colleagues.
So we have responded to some of the questions. Some of the questions involve there's someone who is asking what will happen if one of the joint proprietor is deceased. I think we are going to explain some of the processes where you may avoid to go directly to the replacement of title process. That would include where there is an issue of transmission, where the chargee wants to exercise their statutory power of sale, and where the joint proprietor, one of the joint proprietor is deceased, you may require to move to the process that registered the death certificate, which allow you also now to simultaneously do the replacement of title process.
So thank you, Mr. Kaosha. So I've signed on my phone, and after signing, what you are required to do now is back to your browser. There is this button of confirm signing. When you click on confirm signing, it will upload the signature to the application, and you will be able to proceed. Now, this is the account of the advocate. So the advocate have initiated the application. And so what is required at this point is for you now as the advocate to request your clients. Of course, your clients will have received messages on their email, on their phone, that there is this application which has been initiated, kindly log in and execute. But so you'll request again, or you might on your own follow-up request your clients to log in and execute. So on your part as the advocate, you have executed and accepted representation. So I will, from this point, switch to the client's side to see what the client will be able to do on their accounts. So I'll log out and log in as the client being represented by this advocate. So I've logged in as the client, and once you log in, you can navigate to that application in 3 possible ways. First of all, when you click on the notification bell next to your profile icon, you will get a notification, LR conversion, and you can see the message given. When you come to notification on the left menu bar, you will be able to see the same notification. And when you click on that notification, it will navigate you to that application. The third way is you go to Land Registration Department, you go to the replacement of title, and under the pending tab, you'll be able to see that application. As you can see, we have an application we initiated around 12 minutes ago. So when you view, that is the application that is the details of the application that was initiated by that advocate. So you'll be able to see the reference again. You'll be able to see the progress level bar. It's telling you awaiting title submission. You'll have a chance to sign, as you can see the signing area, and you can see all the details that were provided. You'll be able to see the documents, and this is from the client side, of course. You'll be able to see the documents that were provided. So what you are required at this point as the client is the execution. So basically, you are required to append your signature. So for this case, I'll append the signature using my mouse. I'll not go for the signing options. And I save my signature. And that's all that is required from the client. Now, from here, the advocate will proceed and surrender the title to the ministry. So for LR parcels or GLA parcels, they are surrendered to Ardhisasa, I believe room 106. For Dagoretti parcels, the titles are surrendered to Geospatial Data Center, Ruaraka Survey of Kenya. So that is where you will be surrendering your titles depending on the parcel that you are applying for replacement of title. So I'll be logging in back as the advocate to complete the surrender of the title. So I'll switch to the advocate account, proceed to that process. Replacement of title is still under the pending tab. Now at this point, when you generate or when you create this application, there are two things that the system will automatically do for you from the back end. The first thing that the system will do is it will generate a ticket for you to come and surrender the title. Secondly, the ticket will generate an invitation for you to book the date that you will come and surrender the title. So if we go to my tickets and we go under the ongoing, we can see a ticket that was generated roughly 15 minutes ago. When we view that ticket, it will give us a chat platform whereby you can chat with the ministry officials. Maybe you need to seek clarification on where to surrender the title and such stuff. You will be able to initiate a chat, and you can attach documents if you wish. We have the attach feature, and you send the message. So that is the purpose of the search feature, for you to chat with the ministry official. And this is the ticket that you will be required to provide once you come and surrender the title. Because when you surrender the title, we will close this ticket as an acknowledgement that we have received your title. So that is one feature that the system will automatically do for you, create the ticket for you. The second thing is it will create an invitation for you to book a date and come and surrender the title. So under my appointments, you'll see an invitation. We have roughly 17 minutes ago. When you view the invitation, it will come with the ticket information. Just a minute. It will come with the ticket information. As you can see, we have the message that I text, and additionally, it will come with a calendar for you to book the date that you want to come and surrender the title. So I'll book Friday 16th, and then I'll select the time I want to come and surrender the title, 10 a.m., and I submit my request. So you'll be told appointment has been scheduled successfully. So when you go to upcoming appointments, you'll see an appointment that you booked roughly 2 minutes ago. And when you view that appointment, you'll still have the ticket information. Additionally, you will have a gate pass. This is the gate pass that you will use to come and surrender the title. So the gate pass will have the date of appointment, the time, the reference number of the appointment, the ticket number, and the department where you are surrendering the title. So basically, this is what will give you access to the offices, especially at the Ruaraka of Kenya. You might not be able to access the offices without this gate pass. So up to that point, you will have done your part as the advocate, download the gate pass, or you can, before we go ahead, you can reschedule your appointment in case you feel like you can't make on the day that you have booked, you can reschedule your appointment. So from here, you will now proceed and come and surrender your title. And upon your title being received by the receiving officer, they will close that ticket because they'll have a view of the same ticket that you have on your portal, and they'll proceed and close the ticket as an acknowledgement that we have received your title. On the day of surrender, we usually require that you write a letter stating the purpose of your surrender, and you bring the letter in duplicate. We will stamp the two letters, and you will go back with one letter. We remain with one of the letters, and that is what you will also bring during the day of collecting the title. So up to that point, that is the process of applying for replacement of title issued from close register. The end product of this application will be a new Nairobi block title and LRA 97, a registered LRA 97. So I'll end my presentation at that point, and I'll open room for question and answers. So if you have a question, kindly raise your hand, and the host will allow you ask the question. James, kindly proceed and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I hope I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I have two questions. The first one is concerning GLA applications. What document is surrendered? Is it the last conveyance or all the conveyances from the initial one with the deed plan up to the last conveyance? Then number two, in the event that maybe the owner has lost the title to be surrendered, what document does he surrender at the lands office? Is it the abstract only, or should it be accompanied by the application for mail array 12, the one for replacement of a lost title. Thank you.
We will check a number of questions, then we will respond. So, Catherine, kindly proceed and ask your question.
Morning. Thank you for the presentation. I wasn't there for the last Zoom meeting. So my questions, I have 3 questions. What's the process of registering ancestral land that has no title or any land that has no title? Then will Ardhisasa cover for registration of properties in all parts of Kenya, and how far can we register properties outside Nairobi? Then the last question is, what's the process of registration of properties to Ardhisasa? Thank you.
Kindly repeat the last question.
The last question was the process, a brief process of registering properties to Ardhisasa.
Wambui, kindly proceed.
Hi, my question has to do with section of properties. I see there's a module on the Ardhisasa platform for transfer of lease. Can one proceed to register a transfer of a lease without having obtained the sectional title? That is my question.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll take a question from Moses Geizo.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, I have 2 questions. What happens in instances where the ownership is tenancy in common and one of the proprietor is deceased and the estate has already been passed to the administrators? Once I do the conversion on that property, will the title be issued in the name of the deceased proprietor with regards to his or her shares? Or once I attach the letters of administrations as well as the confirmation of grant, certificate of confirmation of grant, the title will be issued in the name of the administrator. Number 2, I did one conversion, but I was not issued with a registered LRA 97. I was just issued with a title. Should I follow up with the RAS registry or what happened? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. I think we'll check one question from Laureen, then we can answer the question, then we can proceed to the next set of questions. So Laureen, please proceed.
Thank you for the presentation. Now I have 3 questions. One, do you have a database of signatures for verification? Because how will you know the proprietor is the one signing? And then 2, have you made provisions for people who are illiterate and they are not able to sign? Is there a way they can sign using their thumbprint? And then lastly, sectional titles. Which LRA form is being used to transfer the sectional title? Is it from LRA 33 or is it from LRA 63? Thank you.
So thank you for those questions. We will answer the questions. I'll request my colleague, Mr. Kahosho, to moderate over the questions.
We're going to respond to a few questions or some of the questions that have been asked. There's a question here on the issues of ancestral land. Can't remember who had asked that, and the issues of art property. First, we need to understand that Ardhisasa has been rolled out for properties that are within Nairobi County, and therefore, what we are currently dealing on the system is for properties that are within the Nairobi County. We will also see that the properties that we have gazetted for conversion are those that are within the administrative boundaries of Nairobi. So for now, Ardhisasa has been rolled out within Nairobi, but will be gradually rolled out to other counties until the whole country is covered. However, as we had explained on the chart, payment for land rent is available for properties across the country. Therefore, when it comes to land rent, any property, whether in Kisumu, Mandera, or wherever, you can be able to use the system to make your payment for land rent. Now, the issues of property, whether it is ancestral land, possibly now, if you had any in Nairobi, you would still have to go through the process, either through the registration of a lease or any other process that will allow you to gain ownership, if it is through the allotment, whether it was done through allotment. Therefore, there is no unique process within the system for you to be registered. Now, the issue of ad property, which we had done a webinar last week, just requires all the property owners within the county to have an account with the system. The proprietor must have an account. And then within the system, there is a provision for you to add your property. There's a tab for my properties, which you're going to click, and then you'll be prompted to key in a property number. That property number bears a unique format that you must follow. It must be Nairobi/block, then the block number, and then the parcel number. And then you'll be required to upload your certificate of lease or the title deed, whichever, and then you will submit. This process can be done by either the proprietor himself or another person, as long as they are able to correctly indicate the details of the proprietor using the Ardhisasa ID. So that is a process that does not necessarily require the services of a professional. So that is how you add your property, or your property is registered, and after that property has been verified, then the property will be linked to the account of the owner, and therefore any transaction or any notification regarding the transaction of that property will be notified to the owner through an SMS, through an email, and through their account. Then we have another issue on the question that was asked on the issue of tenancy in common. And the beneficiary, I'll ask Timothy to shed light on that.
So for properties that were held in common and one proprietor is deceased, the way we have implemented in the system, you will have to do the replacement of title through another process. So basically what will happen is you will have to proceed first and register an administrator for the deceased proprietor. But what we will do on the system is that once you register the administrator for the deceased proprietor, we will convert the parcel for you, and we will issue you the title, or we'll register the administrator and convert the parcel for you, so that whatever we will issue for you is the LRA form 39 for registration of administrator and LRA form 97 for conversion of the title. And you'll be able to proceed and register LRA 42 or 43 for the administrator bit, so that you can get the title. So there are processes that we might not require you to go directly to replacement of title, considering the circumstances under the application. So the first one is where there is an administrator, whether for sole parcel held by a sole proprietor, parcel held by proprietors in common. For that one, we'll require you to do registration of administrators, but we will not again come and tell you now proceed and do an application for replacement of title, because we know that this parcel will still undergo conversion. So there are processes, we have made them to be 2 in 1. So registration of administrators is one of them. The second process that you will not go directly to replacement of title is the application for removal of a name in case of joint ownership and one person is deceased. So you will not be going, let me just show on the screen. We have the process of application for removal of the name of a deceased joint proprietor from register. For this one, again, you'll have to apply for this application, and we will do the conversion for you, issue you with the LRA 38 for removal of the name of a deceased joint proprietor, and issue you with the LRA 97 and a new title. The other process that we will require you to do we'll do the conversion for you is the transfer for transfer by chargee or transfer pursuant to purchase by chargee. This is under the statutory power of sale. So we know that the proprietor of that parcel will not comply for the sale because he has defaulted that loan. So we will allow the bank to do the transfer by chargee, and we will convert the parcel for that application, and we will issue you with the new Nairobi block number under the name of the purchaser. So those are the processes that you will not go directly to replacement of title. You will start from another process. We will complete the process for you. Thank you.
The other query was on, for those who have lost their titles. I just want to bring to your attention that before we commenced on conversion, there was an agreement between stakeholders, and they produced what we call a conversion manual, which allows you to see some of the modalities or the procedure on how to do conversion. And that entails on what would happen for titles that have been lost before you could be able to surrender or to submit it for conversion, as well as property titles that are held by banks, while others are held by the judiciary. The conversion manual is available on our website. You can be able to get it and see some of the scenarios that may be there. So for the lost titles, currently you are required to go through the normal process of replacement of a title. Currently, you can be able to do that through the manual process, but very soon we'll be able to have a module, an online module where you'll be able now to make your application for a replacement of lost title through the system. So currently what you do, you follow the same procedure. You provide an abstract, you provide an affidavit, and then of course, after the registrar is satisfied that the title cannot be found, then a gazette notice for 60 days will be issued. And once now you commence the process of replacement of title issued from a cross register, what will be surrendered is that gazette notice after the lapse of the 60 days for the gazette notice. We also have another query on whether the companies can sign the application. Yes, the companies can sign the application. That is from the chat through their directors. So an account is created. We have a process of creating an account for a company registration, which has been displayed. And of course, now you require those directors to have their individual accounts so that once an application has been started, or has commenced, and they are prompted to execute on the application, then the system, because the system is linked with BRS, once you indicate the Ardhisasa ID of the director, the system will be able to pull the details of the director and allow the director to sign. So that one is answered. There was also a question on whether what would happen if you are provided with a title without an LRA 97. I think you should be able to follow up all the transactions that we do on the system. We are able to generate the corresponding LRA form that is provided at the end of the process. So if it's a transfer, for example, of an interest in land, you'll be able to see a form LRA 33. If it is a replacement of title issued from a cross register, once we provide you with a new title, the converted title, you'll also be able to get the LRA 97. Therefore, you can follow up through our customer care so that we can allow you to raise a ticket and be able to get that form. There was also another question on whether we have a database for signatures and whether we are able to be sure whether the person signing is the registered proprietor. Now, as we explained last week on the issues of registration of accounts, we informed that what we do for all the users in the system is to ensure that we allow that we do identity mapping for our users. And we explained that we are linked with the IPRS for individuals and the BRS for companies. For those entities that are also not companies, we have the back office registration where we get the information for the signatories of those accounts. Those should be either government agencies, self-help groups, and so on and so forth, churches, etc. Now, once a person has created an account as an individual, we have explained that our system will always be communicating to them through their phone number and email that has been verified. And you'll also note that most of those applications have been initiated by advocates who are also have upgraded their accounts on their system, meaning for those applications that would pass any interest, the advocate will have identified those actors or the registered proprietor and is the one that is going to initiate the transaction and prompt the registered owner to do an action, either to sign or verify their OTP on that application. So the issues of impersonation through accounts is very difficult on the system. The other query was on whether we have a database. What we do is, first, for any person who has registered on accounts, we allow them on their account to create what we call a profile signature. And once they come to do a transaction, the signature that they execute on the application will be visible to our staff, who will cross-check between the account signature and the signature that has been used by during the application. Furthermore, for the property owners that have signed documents to receive properties, we have our own electronic document management system where we have all the transactions relating that property that had been done by the owner, and we have a sample signature. We can be able to look the documents that they have previously signed and compare with the current signature. If we are not satisfied, we will either executing to avail themselves to sign in our presence, or take back the application for them and to ask them to sign signatures that are consistent with the signature that they provided on their account. Of course, there is the issue of the advanced digital signature that the system, that the ministry is engaged with the Communications Authority to ensure that we are able to move to what the law envisaged on advanced electronic signature, so that we can have a unique identifier or a unique certificate that allows one to be able to sign on the system. So the signature that we have allowed on the system is to allow us to continue doing business, but the ministry is working very hard to ensure that we comply with the issues of the advanced digital signature. So for the issues of the illiterate users, for now we have not provided for the thumbprint, but it is a work in progress. We are still evolving as a system to be able to allow those users to be able to make signatures on the system. But currently, the thumbprint is not provided, but we have also allowed on the system for users also to be able to appoint attorneys who can also be able to sign on their behalf. There is also a question on the issues of the forms on the transfer of lease. On the transfer of lease, we have a form LI 63 on transfer of lease, which you can see on the screen, where you can use the transfer of lease from LRA 63, and also a transfer of lease for a sectional property. So that is provided for on the system. So I will also ask Timothy to explain on the issues of why the progress bar fluctuates between 60%, 70%, and sometimes returning from 70% to 40%, and what it means when your application is at 40%.
Thank you, Mr. Kahosha. So on the progress level bar, let me just show one. So as we can see, we have one on our screen, which reads 25%. So basically, it will give you that application awaiting title submission. So this is an application that have been created by the advocate and the parties have executed, but we have not submitted the title. Now, when you submit the title and the ticket is closed, this application will proceed from 25% to 40%, which basically means that the application has been assigned to an officer in the land registration department. Now, just to explain, under the land registration department, we have two levels of approval. Your application will land on the desk of the first officer, who will go through the application details and check for any mistakes or any inconsistencies and all that kind of checks that are done, the due diligence that are done by the officers. If this officer finds that maybe there is a piece of information that you did not provide, which does not necessitate rejection of this application, they might return the application to you. And if they return application to you requesting you to provide one or two pieces of information, maybe it's a company applying and you didn't provide the CR12, they might return and tell you upload the CR12 and such cases. When the application moves back, it will move also the percentages back. So it will go to a different percent, less than the percent it was before. When it moves from the first officer to the final officer, who is the registrar, the percentage will also increase to around 60-something%. And when the registrar approves that application, it will move to 100%. The registrar also can return the application to the first officer maybe for more action. So the progress level bar might fluctuate, but it is not something that should worry you. It only depends at the level at which, because in the system, we have what we call, let me just put it in a simple language, the levels of action of an application. So an application could be at this node, it goes to the next node, it is returned to the previous node and such cases. So it just fluctuates depending on the action of that application. You might find scenario whereby your application might stagnate a bit at 40%. I believe for those who are in the last webinar, we talked about verification of the parcels. So basically, there are some checks that we do, which I believe was talked about in the last webinar of last week, that should be carried out on a parcel before the final approval. So your parcel might stagnate at 40% because of the what we call checks that we do, departmental checks and all that done on your parcel. And I believe it also affects the process of adding of property, which was discussed last week. So that is what it means on the percentages on the progress level bar, and why sometimes it might stagnate at 40%, because 40% is at the desk of the first officer, who usually do the big part of verification of the process. So that is all about the progress level bar. I've seen a question on the chat about adding more than one deceased proprietor for the registration of administrators. Initially, when we developed the module, we had factored in a scenario whereby one administrator will come and claim or register at one point. But after discussions and coming up with the more requirements, we found that we could have people applying for more than one deceased, or administrators for more than one deceased proprietor. And we have factored in that process. And probably by the end of this week, you will be able to upload registration of more than one deceased proprietor at a go.
Sorry, Timothy.
Yes.
Sorry to interject. There is a question we had asked which has not been answered. Okay. It concerns GLA applications, where you have this series of indentures, these conveyances. When you are talking of conversion, which document is surrendered? Is it the last conveyance, or all those previous conveyances, especially where the property has changed hands over time?
So I believe that question had been answered by Mr. Kamuyu on the chat, but just to repeat, we'll require the first and the last conveyance only.
Okay, thank you.
I will move to the next set of questions. I can see someone by the name Scholar. Kindly proceed and ask your question.
Thank you, Timothy. My question relates to the transfer of apartments whose titling currently is leases, where there has not been conversion of the mother title, though already gazetted for conversion. Is it possible to do that on the Ardhisasa platform? Somebody indicated that morning that is possible. And if so, what number do you use? Is it the number for the mother title, or the IR on the lease issued in respect of the specific apartment?
Scholar, I'm told there are some people who have not heard the question. Kindly please repeat.
Sorry about that. My question, you can hear me?
Yes, you can hear.
You can hear me. Relates to the transfer of apartment leases, where the mother title has been gazetted for conversion, but conversion has not been done yet. am I in a position to transfer that lease from one party to another? And if so, on the Ardhisasa platform, and if so, what would be my title number, saying that the apartment itself does not have a Nairobi block number yet without the section or title? I hope I am clear. Thank you.
Yes, okay, we have had your question. We'll request more questions so that we can answer. James, can you proceed and ask your question?
Good morning. My question relates to conversion of a title where the company has changed names. So in that instance, how do we go about it, given when you make the application, the system or the users on the other end tell you the proprietors do not match? And also it's practically impossible to rectify or update the name of the company on that title, given it's been converted. So how do we go about that?
Thank you. Mr. Eliud?
Yes, my question is simple. I don't know if it's been mentioned, but what are the expected timelines of a conversion once the application is made? Is it 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months? Thank you.
Angela?
My question is, I have had a transaction at 80% for the last 3 months, and no other than a notification to be allocated to a registrar, no further comment. How do we move from there? It's been almost 3 months now.
Luca?
Thank you. Mine is with respect to simultaneous registration of documents. Why is it that so far we are unable to have a module that allows simultaneous registration of documents, or is it something that is still under construction that we are expected to have? And also my second question is regarding charges of apartments. Is it possible to undertake registration of a charge or a further charge of an apartment that has not been georeferenced with respect to a lease based on architectural drawings?
We'll check the last question from Elizabeth, then we answer, then we go for the next batch of questions.
Okay, hello, thank you. In regards to collecting the new title deed, how long should it take? I have one and it has been 2 weeks. It has not yet been collected. Thank you.
Just to interject, Elizabeth, has your application been has it been completed? Is the progress level at 100%?
Yeah, it's at 100%. The text message reads verification is successful. Yeah.
So I believe we'll answer the questions that have been asked, then we can check another set of questions. So to begin with your question, Elizabeth, once the application has been approved and the title printed, we usually give to the dispatch office, which they usually make calls for people to come and collect titles. So if it has taken more than, was it a GLO or a Dagoretti parcel? So anyway, so for parcels that are Dagoretti parcels, if it has taken more time, kindly visit the Geospatial Data Center or contact customer care for them to create for you an invitation to visit the Geospatial Data Center and inquire about your title or probably collect your title. If it is a GLA or an IR parcel, visit RD House Room 106 and you'll be able to inquire about the title. But you should be able to receive a call a day or after approval of your parcel. So I'll answer the simultaneous transaction and what happens to sub-leases that have not been georeferenced. Now for simultaneous equations, sorry, not equation, the transactions, we have had, we are not able to do some simultaneous transaction, basically because of the change of ownership of a parcel in the system. So you may be able to do a discharge and a charge, but you might not be able to do a transfer and a charge after. The reason being that the way the system is configured or was configured initially is that it will check for the ownership of a parcel during transaction. So if we do a transfer, it will go successfully because we will check and know that a parcel belongs to Timothy at this point when we are doing the transaction. Now, if we initiate a chat before the transfer is approved, the system will check for the ownership of the person applying for the charge. And at that time, maybe we are trying to charge a parcel against Kahosho, and the system will check and say the parcel does not belong to Kahosho, it belongs to Timothy. So that is the challenge that we have when dealing with simultaneous equation. However, during the engagements that we have had, mostly with the LSK, we've sat down and we are looking for a way to accommodate the simultaneous transaction, basically the discharge, transfer, and a charge, or a mixture between the three of them. So we are in the process of developing a way to accommodate that. I don't want to give timelines on when we shall complete, because it's when it comes to development of system, it's a bit it's a process. So, but I believe we are at a good percent of developing it. So anytime we will be able to update you on the simultaneous transaction. The other bit is subleases, which have not been georeferenced. So for this, it is a discussion that is going on. I believe there was a committee that was formed between Ministry, LSK, and ISK to look into the issue of subleases. Basically, it should undergo georeferencing, but whatever we are developing at the moment is a feature to allow the subleases to operate on the system, but basing on the mother parcel, which should be have been converted. So if your mother parcel have been converted, we are looking on a way to allow the subleases which sits on the mother parcel to operate on the system. I believe it's a feature under the final stages, and we should be able to update you in the least time possible on how to operate it. So it's a feature under the final stages, which will allow parcels, subleases, which sits on a parcel that has been converted and approved on the system to operate. So we'll indulge that you be patient with us as we finish on that process, which will not take long. Oh, we have a question on companies that have changed names over time. And when they come to the system, we find that the name you are applying under and the name the parcel is registered under differ. For this one, we usually advise clients to seek the approval of the Chief Land Registrar to register the new name on the manual space, and we update on the system so that we can allow you proceed with the transaction. So we have the option of writing a letter to the Chief Land Registrar for approval. And when the Chief Land Registrar approves that transaction, it will be registered. We update it on the system, and you'll be able to proceed with your transaction. So maybe I'll ask Mr. Kaosho to answer on the issues of timelines.
With especially when we deal with the RTA and GLA properties, is that most of those properties, even when we did the initial scanning of the documents, the proprietors continue to do transactions on the property. And therefore, by the time we came to do the conversion, we realized that the titles being provided by the client or by yourselves had more entries than the documents that we had scanned on our database. And therefore, we required a situation where before we could issue any new title, we required to have a situation where we would first have to reconcile what you have and the file the initial file we had, and the temporal file that was open to allow you to do business continuity when we were doing the scanning. And therefore that occasioned some delays for RTA and GLA titles, which has now been resolved because currently we have been able to arrange the files that we had taken for scanning, and we are able now to retrieve the files very fast. And therefore, between 7 and 14 days, I really believe we should be able to have had your title, your new title provided to you. Of course, some of the things that are eating into the time is the to and fro between the advocate and our staff, either on the issues of signing, on the issues of profile photos. Those are some of the issues that are eating into the time. The other issue, of course, for you to understand is that this process also of replacement of title issued from a cross register also allows us to do verification. Now, as we explained last week on the issues of add property, this process allows us to do the departmental checks for every property. And therefore, the replacement of title issue from a cross register actually is a two-in-one process where you are adding your property for verification and also doing the replacement. And therefore, if for one reason or another, the data or the verifications from any of the department has not been finalized, we may get a delay until the same is resolved. So the issues of verification also come in. And this one also goes to other properties, other processes that we talked about, like the registration of an administrator or an executor, or the removal of a deceased proprietor, or transfer by chargee. Before we can actually do those processes, the initial process of verifications from the department must be done. And therefore, that may occasion a few delays here and there until those departments are able to do that. But we can assure you that we are working very hard to ensure that we expedite those processes. We will be able to provide an email at the on the chat where you can send your references for those properties that you have made an application for and are still pending on the system. Last week, we provided emails, and most of you are able to use the emails, and you are able to respond. So kindly, please send us those references so that we can follow up with the various departments on what may be eating into the time for your application. Thank you.
Do we have more questions so that we can respond? I can see a question by someone, Winnie Acholo, on the chat, asking about if an advocate initiates an application and is feeling unwell or not available to act on the transaction, can we be able to transfer the application between advocates? At the moment, we are not able to do that, but we are working on a feature to allow the law firms at least have a control over the applications made under their name. But this can only happen for applications which have been tied to a law firm. So during the application, I believe I demonstrated on how to tie an application to a law firm. So I'll highly recommend that you register your law firms, and when making applications, you can attach the application to your law firm so that when we have that feature, you might be able to have a control over the applications made under your law firm. So for now, we don't have that feature, but yeah, in the near future, you'll be able to do that. Thank you. So do we have more questions?
Good morning.
Yes, morning.
My name is Sharon. There's a question, I don't think it was responded to. It was asked by, I think, Scholar on transfer of leases, apartments or maisonettes that are already registered. What do we've been told it's possible. So 1, is it possible? 2, what do we enter as the parcel number?
For properties that were registered as either apartments, houses, units, which were under the Nairobi block, or their parcel number started with Nairobi block, maybe parcel 1/1 unit 1. Those one you are able to transact on them on the system. The only challenging bit is how to capture that part of an apartment or a unit. We have a format we have developed on the system. It might vary from the way the apartment are captured, the mansionettes are captured, the units are captured, the house, there are those captured as house number. These are captured, but you are able to transact on those on the system. So you will contact customer care. They'll give you the specific format in which your parcel has been captured, and you'll be able to add property for that unit. And once approved, you will be able to transact on that property as any other parcel on the system. Thank you.
Okay, so Timothy, if I hear you correctly, you're saying that we can only transact on leases or let me just say sectional units that are already in the Nairobi block format. So for the GLA and RTA, we cannot transact on them until we finish georeferencing?
It might not be until you finish georeferencing. I had talked about that earlier. We are completing on a process on which we will be able to handle the parcels, the units, sorry, that are subleases under the GLA and the RTA that have not been georeferenced, as we wait for a guidance on the committee that was formed on the way forward on the subleases. So we are finalizing on a feature that will allow you to transact on the subleases. But for now, you can transact on the Nairobi block subleases. So I'll request that we send the other questions on the chat, and we'll be able to respond to the questions. So I'll hand over to Mr. Kahosha to proceed.
Now we are coming to the close of our training. We have provided some email addresses on the chat for you either to make further inquiries or to send your references for follow-up. Maybe you have not responded to all the questions on the chat. We'll be able to do that. Please make your inquiries through the email. Next week we'll still have a webinar on. Yeah, we'll have a webinar at the same time. I'll be kindly informing you what it will be about. We also allow you to continue giving feedback on the system. Kindly send us your suggestions for us to improve the system, but we can assure you that we are taking a lot of suggestions that are coming from our users on developing the system and making it more user-friendly. So next week, same time, we will be having a webinar on development control. So kindly, please make sure you avail yourself, and also extend your invitation to others. That will be on 20th of June, 2023. So thank you so much for your time. Tunashukuru sana. Have a good afternoon. Please make use of our other channels, the customer care, to be able to continue interacting with us. So we want to appreciate you for your time. Have a good day and see you next week. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
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 Santeni.
Thank you.